I have a brother. His name is Michael. He is 2 years older than me. He has the same nose as our father, the same stubborn jaw, the same way of folding his arms across his chest when he is thinking hard about something. He lives 45 minutes from me. I know this because I once drove the route just to see how long it would take. I did not knock on his door. I just sat in my car at the end of his street and looked at his house, the blue one with the white shutters and the basketball hoop in the driveway, and I wondered how two people who grew up in the same bedroom could end up this far apart. 45 minutes. That is all. Not across the country, not across an ocean. 45 minutes. Less than an hour. Less time than it takes to watch a television show. Less time than it takes to bake a cake or mow a lawn or sit in a waiting room at the dentist. And yet those 45 minutes might as well be 45,000 miles. Because distance is not measured in minutes or miles. It is measured in silence. And the silence between my brother and me has been going on for 6 years. 6 years. 2,190 days, give or take. That is how long it has been since Michael looked me in the eye and said my name. Since he picked up the phone when I called. Since he responded to a message. Since he acknowledged, in any way at all, that I exist. My brother stopped talking to me. And the worst part, the part that still keeps me awake at night, that still makes me pull the covers over my head and press my face into the pillow and cry the way I cried when I was a little girl, the worst part is that I am not entirely sure why. I have theories. I have guesses. I have replayed every conversation, every argument, every tense moment between us, searching for the one thing I said or did that made him decide I was no longer worth speaking to. And I have found candidates, moments that might have been the cause, words that might have been the trigger, but nothing definitive. Nothing that explains how a brother and a sister who were once inseparable, who shared a room and shared secrets and shared a language that nobody else in the world could understand, could become two strangers connected only by blood and silence. My name is Catherine. People call me Kathy. I am 53 years old. I am a school librarian. I have 2 children, a small house with a garden that I neglect, and a heart that has a hole in it shaped exactly like my brother. This is the story of how I lost him. Not to death, not to distance, not to some dramatic event that would make sense in a movie. I lost him to something quieter than all of those things, something that crept in so slowly I did not notice it until it was too late. I lost him to misunderstanding, to pride, to the terrible, stubborn silence that grows between people who love each other but have forgotten how to say so. And I am telling this story because I need to say it out loud. Because carrying it inside me for 6 years has made it heavier than I can bear. And because somewhere out there, right now, there is a sister who has not heard from her brother in months or years, or a brother who has not spoken to his sister, or 2 people who used to be everything to each other and are now nothing. And I want those people to know that they are not alone in their pain, that the ache they feel is real and valid and shared by more people than they could ever imagine. We do not talk about this kind of loss. We talk about losing people to death. We talk about losing people to divorce. But we do not talk about losing people who are still alive, who are still breathing and eating and sleeping and going about their lives just 45 minutes away. People who have not died but have simply decided that you no longer belong in their world. That kind of loss has no funeral, no flowers, no casserole from the neighbors, no sympathy cards. No one gathers around you and says, "I am so sorry for your loss." Because the person is not gone. They are right there. You could drive to their house. You could knock on their door. You could stand on their porch and say, "Please, please just talk to me." But you do not. Because the silence has become a wall, and you are afraid that if you knock and no one answers, it will confirm the thing you have been terrified of all along, that you have been erased, that you do not matter, that the person who knew you best in this world has decided that knowing you is no longer worth the effort. That is where I am, standing on the wrong side of a wall I did not build, waiting for a door that may never open, missing a brother who is close enough to touch, but too far away to reach. Let me tell you how we got here. Michael and I were born 26 months apart. He came first, January 1969. I came second, March 1971. Our mother used to say that Michael arrived angry and I arrived curious. He screamed for the first 3 months of his life, she said. I just looked around, wide-eyed, as if I was trying to figure out what all the fuss was about. We grew up in a small brick house on Maple Drive, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that smelled like coffee in the morning and onions in the evening. Our father, James, was a postal worker. He left the house at 6 every morning and came home at 4 every afternoon, his shoes dusty, his uniform wrinkled, his face set in the same tired half-smile that was his default expression for as long as I knew him. He was a good man, a dependable man, the kind of man who showed up every day without complaint and did his job and came home and read the newspaper and went to bed and got up and did it all again. He was not excited. He was not dynamic. He was steady. And steady, I have learned, is its own kind of heroism. Our mother, Patricia, was a homemaker. She cooked and cleaned and sewed and gardened and managed the house with the quiet efficiency of someone who has accepted that her work will never be noticed or praised, but does it anyway because it matters. She had a laugh that was too loud for her small body, a big, explosive laugh that startled people who did not know her and delighted people who did. She laughed at everything, at bad jokes, at funny commercials, at the dog chasing its tail, at my father's terrible singing in the shower. She found joy in small things. And she passed that gift on to me, though it took me many years to realize it. Michael and I shared a bedroom until he was 12. The room was small, barely big enough for 2 twin beds and a dresser, and the walls were thin, and the window did not close properly, so in winter the cold crept in, and in summer the heat pressed down on us like a blanket we could not kick off. But it was ours, our kingdom, our world within the world. We had routines. Every night, after the lights were out and our parents had gone to bed, Michael and I would talk. We would lie in our separate beds, staring at the ceiling, and we would talk about everything and nothing. About school, about friends, about what we wanted to be when we grew up, about whether aliens were real, about what happens when you die, about the kid down the street who could burp the entire alphabet. Those conversations were sacred to me. I did not know that at the time I was too young to understand what sacred meant, but I know it now. Those late-night talks, whispered in the dark, were the foundation of our relationship. They were the place where Michael and I became more than just siblings sharing a room. We became confidants, partners, best friends. Michael was protective of me in a way that was fierce and absolute and sometimes annoying. He walked me to school every morning, even when his friends teased him about it. He stood between me and anyone who tried to bully me, which happened more than once because I was small and quiet and an easy target. He taught me to ride a bike, to climb a tree, to throw a ball, to whistle with 2 fingers. He taught me to be brave, not by telling me to be brave, but by being brave himself and letting me watch. And I adored him. With the complete, uncomplicated devotion of a younger sister who thinks her big brother is the most important person on earth. He was my hero, my protector, my translator of the confusing, overwhelming world that I was still trying to figure out. When I did not understand something, I asked Michael. When I was scared, I went to Michael. When I was happy, I told Michael first. We had a signal, a secret one that nobody else knew about. If one of us was having a bad day, a really bad day, the kind where everything goes wrong and the world feels too heavy, we would knock on the wall between our beds. 3 knocks. Tap, 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 and the other person would knock back. Tap, tap, tap. It meant I am here. It meant you are not alone. It meant whatever is happening, we will get through it together. We did not need to say anything after the knocks. Just knowing the other person had heard was enough. Just knowing they were there, on the other side of the wall, awake and listening, was enough to make the bad day survivable. I have knocked on a lot of walls since Michael stopped talking to me. Figuratively speaking, I have sent messages and left voicemails and written letters. Tap, tap, tap. I am here. I am still here. Please knock back. He never does. We grew up. Of course we did. Childhood does not last, no matter how much you wish it would. Michael graduated high school and went to work at a construction company. He was good with his hands, like our father, good with physical things. He could build a wall, fix a roof, lay a foundation. He understood how things fit together. The irony of that is not lost on me. A man who could build anything could not rebuild the relationship with his sister. I went to college, the first person in our family to do so. I studied English literature because I loved books and stories and the way words could make you feel things that real life sometimes could not. Michael teased me about it. "You are going to college to read books?" He said, grinning, "I can get you a library card for free." But he was proud of me. I knew he was. I could see it in the way he told people about me. My sister is in college. She is the smart one. He said it with a casual pride that made my chest ache with love. I got my degree. I became a librarian. I married a man named Paul, a high school math teacher, kind and steady, a lot like our father in the ways that mattered. We had 2 children, a daughter, Sophie, and a son, Nathan. We bought a small house. We built a life. Michael married a woman named Karen. She was a dental hygienist. Practical. Organized, a little sharp around the edges, the way people are when they have had to fight for things that others were given easily. Karen grew up in a family with not much money and a lot of chaos, and she had spent her adult life building order and stability out of the rubble of her childhood. I understood that. I respected it. But there was a rigidity to Karen that made me uneasy sometimes. A tightness, as if she was always bracing for something to go wrong. Michael and Karen had one son, Dylan. He was born the same year as my Sophie, which seemed like a beautiful coincidence at the time. Our children would grow up together. They would be close, the way Michael and I had been close. They would share the same kind of bond. That was what I imagined. That was what I hoped. For a while, things were good. Not perfect, families are never perfect, but good. Michael and I saw each other regularly. Sunday dinners at our parents' house, birthday parties for the kids, summer barbecues where our father burned the hot dogs and our mother laughed too loudly, and the children ran in circles until they were dizzy and collapsed on the grass. Those gatherings were the heartbeat of our family, the proof that we were still connected, that the thread between us, the one that had been woven in that small bedroom on Maple Drive, in the dark, with whispered conversations and 3 knock signals, was still intact. But threads, I have learned, are fragile things. They look strong, they feel strong, but it only takes one sharp moment to cut them. And once they are cut, tying them back together leaves a knot. And knots are never as smooth as the original thread. He did not respond, not to one, not to any. My messages went in. The first tension came when our father got sick. Dad was 71. He had been retired for 6 years, spending his days puttering in the garage and watching game shows and driving our mother crazy with his constant presence in the house. He was healthy, or so we thought. He walked every morning. He ate well. He had the same tired half smile. But then he started forgetting things, small things at first. Where he put his keys, whether he had eaten lunch, the name of the neighbor's dog, a dog he had known for 10 years. We told ourselves it was normal. Age does that. Memory softens. Details blur. That is just how it works. But it was not just memory. It was something deeper, something that was slowly, quietly dismantling the man our father used to be. The diagnosis came after months of tests and doctor visits and waiting rooms. Alzheimer's. Early stage, they said, as if early made it better, as if early meant not so bad. Early just meant the worst is coming, but it has not arrived yet. Our mother was devastated. Patricia, who laughed at everything, stopped laughing. She became a caretaker overnight, managing medications, monitoring symptoms, adjusting her entire life around a disease that was slowly stealing her husband. She did it without complaint, because that was who she was. But I could see the toll it was taking, the weight she was carrying. The light in her eyes dimmed like a bulb that is slowly burning out. Michael and I both stepped in to help. At first, we were unified. We worked together, we took turns visiting our parents, we coordinated schedules, shared responsibilities, divided the tasks the way we had always divided things, fairly, equally, without keeping score. But then the decisions started getting harder. And harder decisions, I have learned, are where families either come together or fall apart. The first disagreement was about money. Dad needed medication that was not fully covered by insurance. The monthly cost was significant, not devastating, but enough to strain our parents' fixed income. I suggested that Michael and I split the cost, 50-50. It seemed fair. It seemed simple. Michael agreed. But Karen did not. I found this out not from Michael directly, but from the tone of his voice when he called to discuss it, that hesitant, careful tone that people use when they are delivering someone else's opinion as their own. Kathy, Karen, and I were talking, and we think maybe we should look into other options before we commit to splitting the cost. Maybe there is a generic version. Maybe Dad qualifies for some kind of assistance program. We just want to make sure we are being smart about this. Smart. Being smart about our father's medication, as if our father's health was a line item in a budget spreadsheet. Michael, The doctor recommended this specific medication. He said it is the best option. I do not think we should gamble with Dad's health to save a few $100s. I am not saying we should gamble. I am just saying we should explore our options. Our option is to take care of our father the way he took care of us. There was a pause. Then he said, in a voice that was not quite his own, "Not everyone has the same financial situation, Kathy. Karen and I have Dylan's school fees, and the mortgage, and the truck payment, and I have Sophie and Nathan and a mortgage and car payments and student loans that I am still paying off. I am not rich either, Michael. Nobody is asking you to go bankrupt. I am asking you to help. We eventually split the cost." But the conversation left a mark, a thin, invisible line on the surface of our relationship that you could not see but could feel, the way you feel a hairline crack in a piece of glass. Intact but compromised, still whole but not as strong. Over the next year, more cracks appeared, each one small. Each one, on its own, manageable, but together they formed a pattern, a web of tension that was slowly spreading across everything Michael and I tried to do together. The second disagreement was about care. Dad was getting worse. His memory was failing faster than the doctors had predicted. He was forgetting names, confusing days, getting lost in his own neighborhood. Our mother was exhausted. She needed help, real help, not occasional visits and phone calls. She needed someone there, consistently, to share the weight. I suggested a schedule. Michael and I would take turns spending time at our parents' house, 2 days a week each. Enough to give Mom a break, enough to keep Dad safe, enough to show them that their children were there for them the way they had been there for us. I did my days, Tuesday and Thursday. I drove to my parents' house after work, cooked dinner, helped Dad with his bath, and sat with Mom while she rested. I did it willingly, gladly, because they were my parents, because that is what you do. Michael did his days for the first month. Then he started missing. One Monday skipped here, one Wednesday skipped there, always with a reason. Work ran late, Dylan had a game, Karen was not feeling well. The reasons were always understandable, always legitimate, but the result was the same. Mom was alone more, Dad was unattended more, and I was picking up the slack, adding extra days to my schedule, stretching myself thinner and thinner. I tried to talk to Michael about it. I chose a Sunday, when we were both at our parents' house for dinner. I waited until Karen was in the living room with the kids and Mom was in the kitchen, and it was just Michael and me on the back porch, the way it used to be. Just the two of us. "Michael, I need to talk to you about the schedule." He stiffened. I could see it. His shoulders pulled up, his arms crossed, his jaw tightened. The defensive posture of a man who knows what is coming and has already prepared his response. "You have missed 4 days this month," I said. "Mom is struggling. She needs both of us." "I know she is struggling, Kathy. I am doing the best I can." "Your best used to be better." It was the wrong thing to say. I knew it as soon as the words left my mouth. I saw the flash in his eyes. Not anger exactly, more like hurt disguised as anger. The way men sometimes wear anger because it is easier than admitting they are in pain. "Excuse me? I did not mean it like that. I just meant. You meant that I am not doing enough. You meant that you are doing more than me and you want me to know it. You meant that I am failing." "Michael, no. I am not saying you are failing. I am saying I need help, and I am saying I am doing the best I can. My job is physical, Kathy. I come home exhausted. Karen needs me at home too. Dylan needs me. I cannot be in 3 places at once. Neither can I. but I am managing. That word, managing, landed between us like a stone, because it carried a judgment inside it. Managing implied that I was succeeding where he was not. Managing implied that my sacrifices were greater than his. Managing implied that I was the better child. I did not mean it that way. I swear I did not. But the damage was done. Michael looked at me with an expression I had never seen before. Not the protective, loving look of the brother who walked me to school, not the grinning, teasing look of the boy who made fun of my college degree. Something colder, something more distant. A look that said, "You are keeping score. And you think you are winning." He went inside without another word. And for the first time in our lives, the silence between us was not comfortable. It was sharp. It was weighted. It was the kind of silence that fills the space where words should be, and the longer it lasts, the harder it is to break. The third disagreement was about the house. Dad had reached the point where he could no longer be safely left alone. Alzheimer's had progressed. He wandered. He forgot to turn off the stove. He did not recognize the mailman and called the police because he thought a stranger was approaching the house. Our mother was at the end of her rope, physically, emotionally, completely. We had to make a decision. Either we hired a full-time caregiver, which was expensive, or we moved Dad to a facility that could provide the level of care he needed, which was also expensive, but included medical support that we could not provide at home. I wanted to hire a caregiver. I wanted Dad to stay in his own home, in his own bed, surrounded by his own things. I believed, and I still believe, that familiar surroundings can be a comfort to someone with Alzheimer's. That the smell of their own kitchen, the feel of their own chair, the view from their own window can reach parts of the brain that the disease has not yet touched. Michael wanted the facility. He said it was safer. He said it was more practical. He said that Mom could not keep doing this, that she was killing herself trying, and that a facility with trained staff and medical equipment was the responsible choice. We were both right. And we were both wrong. And the problem with being both right is that neither person will back down because they genuinely believe they are doing the right thing. And when two people who love each other genuinely believe they are right about different things, the argument stops being about the thing and starts being about something deeper. About trust, about respect, about who gets to decide, about power. The argument happened at our parents' kitchen table, the same table where we had eaten dinner every night as children, the same table where our mother had laughed and our father had smiled his tired half-smile, and Michael and I had kicked each other under the table and thought we were getting away with it. Now we were sitting at that table, not kicking each other, but fighting. Not with our feet, with words, careful, controlled words that were sharp enough to cut. "You want to keep him here because you feel guilty," Michael said. "You feel guilty about not doing enough, so you want to hire someone to do what you cannot. That is not true. I want to keep him here because it is his home. Because he deserves to be in his home. He does not know it is his home, Kathy. He does not know where he is half the time. He called Mom by her sister's name yesterday. He thought I was the plumber. That does not mean we give up on him. Nobody is giving up. I am being realistic. You are being sentimental." Sentimental. He said it like it was a flaw, like caring about our father's dignity was a weakness that needed to be corrected. "And you are being cold," I said. The moment I said it, I wanted to take it back. I watched the word land on him, cold, and I saw what it did. It was like watching something shatter in slow motion. His face tightened, his eyes went flat. The brother I knew disappeared, and in his place was a man who had been wounded by his sister and was not going to show it. "Cold," he repeated. "You think I am cold. Michael, I did not mean." You know what, Kathy? I have been busting my back for the last year trying to help. I have been working overtime to cover Dad's medication. I have been driving here after 12-hour shifts to sit with him and feed him and watch him forget my name. And you sit there and call me cold because I want to make a practical decision. I said, I did not mean it. You meant it. You have always thought you were the better one, the one who cares more, the one who sacrifices more, the college graduate, the librarian, the sensitive one. Well, guess what, Kathy? Caring is not a competition. And if it were, you would not be winning just because you cry more than I do. He stood up. He pushed his chair back. It scraped across the floor with a sound that I can still hear, that sharp, grating scrape of wood on wood, like the sound of something being torn. He left the house. He drove away. And I sat at the table with my hands flat on the surface, exactly the way our father used to sit, and I listened to the silence. That fight was 2 weeks before Dad went to the facility. Michael made the arrangements. I signed the papers. We did it together, technically, but not really. We did it in parallel, side by side but not connected, like two people walking in the same direction but on opposite sides of the street. Dad went to the facility. He lived there for 14 months. He forgot our names. He forgot Mom's face. He forgot the house on Maple Drive and the Sunday dinners and the game shows and the burned hot dogs. He forgot everything that made him James, and he became someone else. A gentle, confused old man who smiled at everyone because he did not know who they were, and it was easier to be kind to strangers than to admit that everyone he loved had become one. He died on a Wednesday morning. Peaceful, the nurses said. In his sleep, no pain. Michael and I stood at the funeral on opposite sides of our mother. We did not speak to each other. We did not look at each other. We stood there, two children who had lost their father, separated by 3 feet of space and a lifetime of things we should have said but did not. After the funeral, I tried to reach out. I called Michael that evening. Michael, can we talk? About Dad, about us, about everything. There is nothing to talk about, Kathy. Of course there is. We are falling apart. Can you not see that? I see it fine. I have seen it for a long time. You are the one who did not want to look. What does that mean? It means I am tired. I am tired of being the one who is never good enough, never present enough, never caring enough. I am tired of being measured against some standard that only you can see. I am tired, Kathy, and right now I need some space. Space. The word that sounds like breathing room but feels like exile. How much space? I asked. He did not answer. He just said, I will call you when I am ready. He never called. That was 6 years ago. And he has never called. For the first year, I waited. I told myself he just needed time. That grief does strange things to people. That Michael was processing our father's death in his own way, and when he was done processing, he would pick up the phone and call me, and we would talk, and we would cry, and we would find our way back to each other. I gave him 3 months. Then 6. Then 9. Each milestone passed without a word. No call, no text, no letter, nothing. I sent messages. Careful, gentle messages that did not push or pressure. Thinking of you. Hope you and Karen and Dylan are well. miss you. Short, light. The emotional equivalent of knocking softly on a door and stepping back. Oh, the silence like stones dropped into deep water. No splash, no ripple, just gone. At the 1-year mark, I called. The phone rang 4 times and went to voicemail. I left a message. My voice shook, and I hated that because I wanted to sound strong and steady and sure, but I did not. I sounded like what I was, a sister who missed her brother and did not understand why he was gone. Michael, it has been a year. I know you needed space, and I have tried to give it to you. But I miss you. I miss you so much that it is hard to breathe sometimes. Please call me. Please. I do not care about the arguments. I do not care about who was right or wrong. I just want my brother back. He did not call back. I tried again 6 months later. Same result. Voicemail. Silence. Nothing. I started to wonder if something was wrong. Not with our relationship, I knew what was wrong with that. But with Michael, was he sick? Was he in trouble? Was something happening in his life that I did not know about? I called Karen. She answered, which surprised me. Her voice was cool, but not hostile. Karen, I am sorry to bother you. I have been trying to reach Michael, and he is not responding. Is he okay? He is fine, Kathy. He does not want to talk right now. It has been a 1.5 years. I know. Do you know why? Can you tell me what I did? Because I have been trying to figure it out, and I cannot. It is not one thing, Kathy. It is a lot of things. He feels like you judged him during your dad's illness, during the decisions. He feels like you always thought you were handling things better than he was, like you were the good child and he was the one who fell short. I never said that. You did not have to say it. He felt it. I sat with that for a long time after the call ended. He felt it. I never spoke out loud. The comparison I never made consciously, the score I never intended to keep. He felt all of it. And it hurt him deeply enough that he decided the only way to stop hurting was to stop talking to me entirely. Is it possible to wound someone without meaning to? Without knowing? Without even being aware that your words or your tone or your silence or your presence is landing on them like a fist? I think it is. I think we do it all the time. We walk through each other's lives, leaving fingerprints we never see, pressing on bruises we did not know existed, bumping into pain we cannot feel because it does not belong to us. I had hurt my brother, not with cruelty, not with intention, but with carelessness, with the assumption that he knew I loved him, that he knew I respected him, that he knew I was not keeping score. I assumed all of that because it was true inside my heart, but I never said it out loud. I never checked. I never asked, Michael, are you okay? Do you feel valued? Do you know that I think you are a good son, a good father, a good man? I never asked because I assumed he knew. And assumptions, I have learned, are the most dangerous kind of silence. The 2nd year passed. Then, the 3rd. The silence hardened. It went from being a gap that might close to a wall that might not come down. I stopped sending regular messages because the lack of response was too painful. Each unanswered text was a small rejection, and the rejections accumulated until I could not face the phone anymore without feeling sick. But I did not stop completely. I sent a message on his birthday every year. Happy birthday, Michael. I love you. 4 words and his name. Enough to let him know I had not given up. Not enough to pressure him. He never responded. I sent a message on the anniversary of Dad's death, thinking of Dad today. And thinking of you. He never responded to that either. Our mother tried to help. Patricia, who had lost her husband and was now watching her children lose each other, tried everything she could think of. She invited both of us to dinner, hoping proximity would force a conversation. Michael declined. Every time. He would visit Mom on his own days, and I would visit mine, and we orbited the same woman like two planets that never crossed paths. Mom talked to each of us separately about the other. She told me that Michael was doing well, that Dylan was growing up, that Karen had gotten a promotion. She told me these things carefully, gently, as if she was handing me pieces of glass, and I took each piece and held it and tried to assemble a picture of my brother's life from fragments passed through our mother's hands. And I am sure she did the same with him. Told him about Sophie and Nathan, about my job, about the garden I was neglecting. She was a bridge, the only bridge between two people who used to be inseparable and were now separated by something neither of them could name precisely. One afternoon, during one of my visits, Mom sat me down at the kitchen table, that table, always that table, and she said, "Kathy, I need to say something to you that you do not want to hear." Okay, Michael loves you. I laughed. Not a happy laugh, a sharp, broken laugh that came out before I could stop it. He has a strange way of showing it. He does. He has always had a strange way of showing things. Your father was the same. Men in this family do not know how to be hurt. They do not know how to say, "You wounded me." So they do the only thing they know how to do. They shut the door. They go quiet. They disappear into their own pain, and they build walls around it, and they convince themselves that the wall is protecting them when really it is just trapping them inside. I looked at my mother, this woman who had survived poverty and grief and a husband's slow erasure and now her children's estrangement. This woman who still laughed, even now. Not as loudly, not as often, but still. What do I do, Mom? You wait, but not passively. You wait the way a lighthouse waits, by staying visible, by keeping the light on, by being there consistently, so that when he is finally ready to come home, he knows where to find you. What if he never comes home? She took my hand. Her fingers were thin and cool and papery, the way old hands become. Then you will have spent your life being a lighthouse. And that is not a waste, Kathy. That is never a waste. I thought about that conversation for a long time. The lighthouse, the steady, patient, visible waiting, not chasing, not demanding, just being there, light on. The door opened, heart ready. It sounded noble. It sounded wise. It sounded like the kind of thing people say in stories. But in real life, being a lighthouse is exhausting. Because lighthouses do not get to take breaks. Lighthouses do not get to have bad days or lose hope or scream into the wind. Why am I standing here alone? Lighthouses just shine. And some nights, the light feels so small against the darkness that you wonder if anyone can see it at all. Year 4. Year 5. The silence continued. My children grew up knowing they had an uncle they never saw. Sophie, who was perceptive in the way that daughters of librarians sometimes are, asked me about it once. "Mom, why does Uncle Michael not come to Christmas? He is busy, sweetheart. He has been busy for 4 years?" I did not have an answer for that. Because there is no answer that makes sense to a child. There is no answer that makes sense to anyone. Nathan, my son, was quieter about it. But I caught him once looking at an old photograph of Michael and me, the one taken at our parents' 30th anniversary party, the two of us with our arms around each other, grinning at the camera, so close that our heads were touching. Nathan was staring at that photograph with an expression I recognized. It was the expression of someone trying to reconcile what they see with what they know, trying to understand how two people who looked that happy could become two people who do not speak. I tried one more time. Year 5. A letter, not a text or a voicemail. A letter, on paper, in my own handwriting. I wrote it at the kitchen table, the way our mother would have. I wrote it slowly, choosing each word with care, because I knew this might be my last attempt, and I wanted it to count. Dear Michael, I have started this letter 11 times. Each time I get a few sentences in and I stop because the words feel wrong. Too much or too little, too angry or too soft, too honest or not honest enough. So I am just going to write and not stop and hope that somewhere in the mess of it, the truth comes through. I miss you. I miss you the way you miss air when you are underwater. Constantly. Desperately. With a panic that never fully goes away, even when I am distracted by other things. You are the first person I think of in the morning and the last person I think of at night. And in between, there are 100 moments when something happens, something funny or sad or ordinary, and I reach for my phone to tell you about it and then remember that I cannot. I do not know exactly what I did to lose you. Karen told me that you felt judged, that you felt like I thought I was the better child. And when I heard that, Michael, it broke something inside me. Because if that is what you felt, then I failed you in the most fundamental way possible. I failed to make you feel loved. I failed to make you feel valued. And I am so sorry. You were never second. You were never less. You were never the one who fell short. You were my hero, Michael. My protector. My best friend. The boy who walked me to school and taught me to ride a bike knocked on the wall when I was having a bad day. Tap, tap, tap. I am here. You were everything to me. You still are. I know I said things during Dad's illness that hurt you. The word managing. The word cold. I know those words cut deeper than I realized, and I would give anything to take them back. Not because I want to pretend I did not say them, but because they were not true. You were not cold. You were struggling, and I was too caught up in my own struggle to see yours. I am not asking you to forgive me right now. I am not asking you to call or text or show up at my door. I am asking you to know, to really, deeply, permanently know that I love you, that I have always loved you, that the 6 years of silence have not changed that. Nothing could change that. You are my brother, and no amount of distance or time or pain can undo what that means. If you ever want to talk, I am here. If you ever want to knock on the wall, I will knock back. I will always knock back. Tap, tap, tap. Your sister. Kathy. I mailed the letter on a Monday, and then I did what my mother told me to do. I waited. I kept the light on. I stood on my rock, and I shined into the darkness, and I hoped. 3 months passed after I mailed the letter. 3 months of silence. I had almost given up. Not on loving Michael, you cannot give up on that no matter how hard you try, but on the possibility of hearing from him again. I had started to build a life around absence. The way you build a room around a hole in the floor. You do not fill it. You just learn to walk around it, You put a rug over it so you do not have to look at it every day. But you know it is there. You always know it is there. It was a Saturday morning in October. I was in the garden, actually working in it for once, pulling weeds and turning soil and trying to save the tomatoes that I had neglected all summer. My hands were dirty, my knees were sore, my back ached, but the sun was warm and the air smelled like earth, and there was something calming about the work, something grounding, like I was reconnecting with something fundamental, something real. My phone rang. I almost did not answer it. My hands were filthy and I was deep in a row of tomatoes, and I assumed it was a sales call or a reminder from the dentist. But something made me reach for it, some instinct, some whisper from the part of me that had been waiting for 6 years. I looked at the screen. Michael's name. Not his number, his name. The name I had kept in my phone all this time, even though he never called. I kept it because deleting it felt like admitting he was gone forever. And I was not ready to admit that. My heart stopped. Then it started again, too fast, like it was trying to make up for the lost beat. My hands were shaking. I wiped them on my jeans and answered. Hello? Silence. For 3 long seconds, just silence. And I thought, he called by accident. He did not mean to. He is going to hang up. But he did not hang up. Instead, I heard a sound. A breath. A slow, shaking breath. The kind of breath you take when you are trying to hold yourself together and failing. Then his voice. My brother's voice. The voice that used to whisper to me in the dark. The voice that used to tease me about my books. The voice that had been silent for 6 years. Kathy, one word. My name. That is all he said. Just my name. And it was enough to undo me completely. I sat down in the dirt right there between the tomato plants, and I pressed the phone against my ear, and I cried. Not the quiet, dignified crying of a woman in a movie, the ugly, gasping, full-body crying of a woman who has been holding her breath for 6 years and has finally been given permission to exhale. Michael, I said. Michael, I got your letter, he said. His voice was rough, thick, like the words were having to fight their way out. I got it 3 months ago, and I have read it every day since. Every day? Every day. I keep it in my truck, in the glove compartment, and every morning, before I start the engine, I take it out and I read it. And every morning, I tell myself, today I will call her. And every morning, I put the letter back and I drive to work and I do not call. Because I am afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid that too much time has passed. Afraid that you have moved on. Afraid that you will answer the phone and your voice will be different. Cold, closed, the way mine has been. And I would deserve that. I know I would deserve that. But I do not think I could survive it. Michael. I wiped my face with my dirty hand, smearing mud across my cheek. I did not care. I have been waiting for 6 years. 6 years. Does that sound like someone who has moved on? He was quiet. Then he said very softly, tap, tap, tap. And I broke open. Whatever was left of the wall between us, whatever was left of the hurt and the pride and the silence, it broke. Not slowly. All at once, like ice cracking in spring, like a dam giving way, like a fist finally unclenching after being closed for so long that the fingers have forgotten what it feels like to be open. Tap, 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 I said back. We sat on the phone for 2 hours. 2 hours. I was in my garden the entire time, sitting in the dirt, leaning against the tomato stakes, letting the sun move across my face while my brother's voice filled the space that had been empty for 6 years. He told me everything. Not the facts of his life. I already knew most of those from Mom. He told me the things behind the facts, the things he had been carrying alone. He told me that after Dad died, he fell apart. Not visibly, not in a way that anyone could see. But inside, where it counts, he came undone. He told me that he felt like a failure as a son, as a brother, as a man, that he believed he had not done enough for Dad, that the arguments we had about medication and care and the facility had confirmed every fear he already had about himself, that he was not good enough, that he was the lesser child, that his sister, the educated, articulate, emotionally available sister, was better than him in every way that mattered. That is not true, I said. That was never true. I know that now, but I did not know it then. And when you said I was cold, Kathy, that one word, it confirmed everything I was afraid of. That I was cold, that I was failing, that I was the kind of man who puts his father in a facility because he is too selfish or too weak to take care of him at home. You were not selfish, Michael. You were right. The facility was the right decision. Dad got better care there than any of us could have given him. I know, but being right did not stop it from hurting, and being hurt did not stop me from blaming you, because blaming you was easier than blaming myself. He told me about the silence, about how it started as space, genuine needed space to process grief and pain, and then hardened into something he could not break through. He told me that every month that passed without contact made the next month harder, that the silence built on itself, layer by layer, until it became its own structure, its own room, and he was trapped inside it. I wanted to call you 1,000 times, he said, after Dylan's championship game. After Karen's surgery, she had her gallbladder out last year. Did Mom tell you? No, she did not. She probably did not want to worry you. Anyway, after that, I wanted to call you so badly that I dialed your number and sat there with my thumb over the button for 10 minutes. 10 minutes, Kathy, and I could not press it. I could not make myself press one button. Why? Because I was ashamed. Because the longer you are silent, the harder it is to explain the silence. What do you say after 3 years? After 4? After 5? Sorry, I disappeared for half a decade. How about lunch? It sounds insane. It sounds unforgivable. It is not unforgivable, Michael. Nothing between us is unforgivable. He was crying. I could hear it. Not the loud, messy crying I was doing. The quiet, controlled crying of a man who has been holding it in for 6 years and is letting it out in small, careful increments, like a valve being opened slowly. I missed you, he said. I missed you every single day, and missing you was the worst part. Because missing someone and choosing not to talk to them, that is a special kind of stupid, Kathy. That is the kind of stupid that only stubborn people are capable of. I laughed. Through my tears, through the mud on my face, through the overwhelming rush of relief and grief and joy that was crashing through me like a wave, I laughed. Because he was right. It was stupid. Magnificently, spectacularly, heartbreakingly stupid. The kind of stupid that only two people who love each other too much and communicate too little are capable of. You are the most stubborn person I have ever known, I said. Runs in the family, he said. And we laughed. Together. For the first time in 6 years, we laughed together. And the sound of it, his laugh mixed with mine, rough and rusty and imperfect, was the most beautiful thing I had ever heard. He came to see me the following weekend. He pulled into my driveway in his work truck, dusty and dented, with tools rattling in the back. I was standing on the porch. I had been standing there for an hour, even though he said he would arrive at noon and it was only 11. I could not help it. I could not sit still. I could not do anything but stand there and watch the street and wait for the truck. When he got out, I saw him fully for the first time in 6 years. He was older, grayer. The lines on his face were deeper, but he had the same jaw, the same arms crossed stance, the same way of standing that said, "I am here, and I am not going anywhere." He walked up the porch steps. He stopped in front of me. And we looked at each other. Really looked. The way you look at someone you thought you had lost. With wonder, with relief, with the kind of gratitude that goes beyond words. Then he hugged me. And I hugged him, and we stood there on my porch, two middle-aged people clinging to each other like children in a storm, and we did not say anything for a long time. We did not need to. The hug said everything. I am here. You are not alone. Whatever happens, we will get through it together. Tap, tap, tap. That was 11 months ago. And I want to tell you what has changed and what has not, because I think it is important to be honest about both. What has changed is that Michael and I talk again. Not every day. Not the way we used to in the dark bedroom on Maple Drive, whispering secrets to the ceiling. We are not those children anymore. We are grown people with grown-up lives and grown-up damage, and we are learning, slowly, carefully, with the caution of two people who have been burned, how to be in each other's lives again. He calls me on Sundays, most Sundays. Sometimes he misses one, and when he does, I feel the old panic rise in my chest, the fear that the silence is coming back. But then he calls on Monday and says, "Sorry, Kathy, busy day. How are you?" And the panic subsides. Not fully, but enough. We have had dinner together 4 times, twice at my house, twice at his. The first time was awkward, painfully, excruciatingly awkward. Karen was stiff, Paul was nervous. The children, Sophie, Nathan, Dylan, sat at the table and stared at each other like strangers at a bus stop, which is exactly what they were. Cousins who had not seen each other in 6 years, cousins who should have grown up together, who should have shared holidays and summers and inside jokes, but instead shared nothing but a last name and a vague awareness that the other existed. But children are resilient in ways that adults are not. By the second dinner, Sophie and Dylan were arguing about music, loudly, passionately, the way teenagers argue about things that do not matter but feel like everything. And Nathan and Dylan discovered that they both liked fishing, which is not much of a foundation for a relationship, but it is something. It is a start. What has not changed is the scar. The 6 years of silence left a mark on both of us that I do not think will ever fully fade. There are moments, unexpected, unpredictable moments, when the old pain resurfaces. A word that echoes a past argument. A silence that lasts a beat too long. A look that reminds me of the look he gave me on that back porch, the one that said, "You are keeping score." In those moments, I feel the distance between us again. Not the 45-minute distance, the real distance. The distance that cannot be measured in miles or minutes. The distance that lives inside us, in the places where we carry our deepest hurts. But I have learned something about distance. It is not fixed. It is not permanent. It can shrink, not quickly, Not easily, but it can shrink. Every conversation shrinks it a little. Every Sunday phone call, every awkward dinner, every text that says nothing important but means everything. Every small, stubborn act of showing up. I have also learned something about Michael, something I should have known all along but was too caught up in my own perspective to see. My brother is not cold. He has never been cold. He is afraid. Afraid of not being enough. Afraid of falling short. Afraid of being measured and found wanting. And when that fear gets too big, he does the only thing he knows how to do. He shuts down. He goes quiet. He disappears. It is not the right response. We both know that. He knows it. I know it. Our mother knows it. But it is his response. It is the pattern he learned from our father, the quiet, steady man who showed up every day but never learned how to say what he felt. The man who smiled his tired half smile and read his newspaper and went to bed and never, not once, told his son, "I am proud of you. You are enough. You do not have to prove anything." Michael never heard those words from Dad, and I never realized how much he needed them. And I never said them myself, because I assumed he knew. And assumptions, as I said before, are the most dangerous kind of silence. I say them now, every chance I get. Not in big, dramatic declarations, in small, ordinary moments. When he tells me about a project at work, I say, "That sounds impressive, Michael." When he mentions something Dylan did, I say, "You are raising a great kid." When he shows up at my door on a Sunday afternoon unannounced, just because he was driving by and thought he would stop, I say, "I am glad you are here. I am glad you are here." 5 words. So simple, so easy to say, and yet, for 6 years, neither of us said them. For 6 years, we let pride and pain and stubborn silence rob us of the simplest truth in the world. I am glad you are here. Our mother is 83 now. She is smaller than she used to be and slower, and her laugh is not quite as loud. But she still laughs. She laughed last month when Michael and I showed up at her house together, at the same time for the first time in 6 years, and she opened the door and saw us standing side by side, and she put her hand over her mouth, and she laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was a relief, because the thing she had been praying for, the thing she had been working toward with her quiet, patient lighthouse wisdom had finally happened. Her children were standing next to each other again. She made us sit at the kitchen table. That table. She made coffee. She put out cookies, store-bought, because her baking days are behind her, though she would never admit it. And she sat across from us and looked at us with eyes that had seen everything: love and loss and war and peace, and the terrible, beautiful mess of a family trying to hold itself together. "Well," she said, "it is about time." Michael and I looked at each other, and we laughed. That same rusty, imperfect, beautiful laugh. The laugh of 2 people who have been through something hard and come out the other side. Not unscathed, not unchanged, but intact. Together. Still here. Mom reached across the table and took both our hands, one in each of hers. Michael's rough, calloused hand. My smaller, ink-stained one. She held them both, and she squeezed, and she said, "Your father would be so happy." And I believe he would be. Wherever James is, wherever quiet, steady, half-smiling James has gone, I believe he knows. I believe he can see his children sitting at his table, holding his wife's hands, finding their way back to each other after 6 long years of being lost. I believe he is smiling, and for once, it is not his tired half smile, it is a full one. I want to leave you with one thought, just one, not a lesson or a moral or a piece of advice, just a thought. The people who hurt us most are usually the people who love us most. That is not an excuse, it is not a justification, it is just the truth. Strangers cannot wound you the way family can, because strangers do not have the key to the room where you keep your most fragile things. Only family has that key. Only the people you trust completely can reach the places where you are most vulnerable. And when they reach those places, intentionally or accidentally, with cruelty or with carelessness, the pain is unlike any other pain in the world. It is the pain of betrayal without malice, the pain of being hurt by someone who did not mean to, the pain of love that went wrong not because the love was false, but because the communication was broken. If you are in that pain right now, if you have a brother or a sister or a parent or a child who has gone silent, who has disappeared behind a wall of hurt and pride and fear, I want you to know something. The wall can come down. Not easily, not quickly, not without scars, but it can come down if someone is brave enough to knock. Tap, tap, tap. That is all it takes. 3 small knocks, 3 small words. I am here, I miss you, I am sorry, I love you. Any 3 will do. Any 3 honest, vulnerable, courageous words spoken into the silence can begin to bring the wall down. You might not get a response right away. You might not get one for months or years, but the knock has been heard. It echoes. It lives inside the wall, vibrating, working on the mortar, loosening the bricks. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day, the person on the other side will press their hand against the stone and feel the vibration and know that someone is still there, still waiting, still shining, and they will knock back. Michael and I are proof of that. 6 years of silence, 6 years of pain, 6 years of a wall so high and so thick that neither of us believed it could come down. But it did. Because a lighthouse kept shining, because a letter was written, because a phone call was made, because 2 stubborn, broken, imperfect people decided that being apart was harder than being honest. We are not perfect. Our relationship is not what it was. It may never be what it was. But it is real. It is alive. It is ours. And every Sunday when my phone rings and I see his name on the screen, I feel the same thing I felt when I was 7 years old, lying in the dark in our shared bedroom, scared of the thunder, and I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. I am here. You are not alone. And I knock back. Every time. Without hesitation, without conditions, without keeping score. Tap, tap, tap. I am here too, Michael. I have always been here, and I always will be. The longest distance between 2 people is not measured in miles. It is measured in unspoken words. Speak them before the silence becomes the only language you know.